Mock feedback from the Christmas Mock 2022. Lesson objectives are to understand your marks, record your marks and writing targets, to practice spellings where necessary, review the requirements of each question. These are the core skills for AQA GCSE English language. The most important ones are spelling, using writing for a range of genres and purposes, understanding the nuances of metaphor, manipulating sentence structures for impact, understanding the generic features of fiction and non-fiction text, summarise and synthesise texts, use subject terminology, write with grammatical accuracy and use coherent paragraphs, try and write legibly, write coherent narratives which read with fluency. You also need to read with fluency and be able to infer meaning. You should be able to spell tier 1, so that's slightly more complex vocabulary, construct coherent argument, understand how writers represent the world, and use sophisticated vocabulary for effect. You should be able to evaluate texts and compare texts. This is the address of the resource for this paper, The Silk Factory from AQA. It's actually really easy to find the papers. You can just literally Google AQA, The Silk Factory, insert, exam paper, Markscheme. They're all easy to find. Question 1. Question 1. Read again the first part of the source from lines 1 to 4 and list 4 things about Rosie from this part of the source, 4 marks. So you get 1 mark for each answer, and you must draw your answers only from the lines that they tell you, 1 to 4. The answers must relate to Rosie. They must show some evidence of selection. They can be quotations or paraphrase, meaning they can mean the same but not be the same words. And they can be a single word. You don't need to write in full sentences. So acceptable answers would be things like she's moved house, she sees a stranger child, she's standing at the sink, her hands are in the water, she's overwhelmed, she's tired, and she's driven up from London the night before. Things that are not acceptable would be she's watching her children, no, she's looking at the garden, she's watching the sunlit, quite a lot of people put that makes no sense, you can't watch an adjective, it was the sunlit garden, and she's driven to London, no, she drove from London. So you have to read carefully and make sure your answer makes sense and fits all those criteria. Question 2. Question 2. Look at this extract from lines 14 to 23 of the source. How does the writer use language to describe the garden? You could include the writer's choice of words and phrases, language features and techniques, and sentence forms. It's the language question. Okay, so on question 2, we're into the questions where you actually have to answer by picking out text, quotations, naming techniques and evaluating what the reader's done and how effectively they've done it. Okay, so what I've done is highlighted here the level 3 answer, which is what you should be aiming for if you have not yet passed the exam. Okay, if you wish to look in detail at the level 4, which is more sophisticated, or level 2, which would not be a pass grade answers, then you can stop the video and have a read of those. The level 3 answer runs as follows. The writer emphasises the way in which the mulberry tree commands the rest of the garden. The adjectives massive and twisted create the idea that it's a huge and misshapen tree. By comparing its branches to stretched out fingers and using the simile like a gigantic malformed hand, it gives the impression of a mysterious presence that takes over parts of the garden. So the tree is described in more terms than just the literal size and shape. The feeling, the mood and tone that engenders is actually also stated by the writer of the answer. So we have the fact that it's commanding which would be personification in the answer, not in the text. And also it's mysterious. And these phrases are not really used in the level 2 answer, which would be a fail grade answer. The person has just literally described the shape and that it's large, which isn't far enough. You have to understand the mood, tone and implications of what the writer is saying. So that's really important. The answer includes a clear naming of the mood or tone of the passage, mysterious, you could say intimidating, powerful or sinister as well. And this is the effect on the reader. If you don't identify that effect, you won't pass. This is a level 1 answer, which would be the bottom grade answer. Stop the video if you wish to read it more closely. Question 3. This is question 3. You now need to think about the whole of the source. The text is from the beginning of a novel. How has the writer structured the text to interest you as a reader? You could write about what the writer focuses your attention on at the beginning of the source, how and why the writer changes his focus as the source develops, and any other structural features that interest you. 8 marks. It's the structure question. This is a pass grade level 3 answer. And I'll read the explanation afterwards. At the very beginning of the extract, the writer creates an intriguing hook by immediately introducing the stranger child. Straight away, this makes us wonder who the child is and where they've come from. The reference to it being the first day in the house in the same sentence provide further mysterious element to the story, as we start to question whether the unfamiliar house and unknown child are linked. By the end, when the child disappears, the mystery only deepens. So in the answer, the writer of the answer mentions a circular structure which revolves around the stranger child, which is after all the main focus of the text. The stranger child is introduced in the first and mentioned in the last line, which is the focus of the question. It's explained exactly what we would wonder about this and continues to mention other events in the text which would heighten the same mood of mystery. This is not expressed or developed as clearly in the level 2 answer below. So the mood or tone of mystery is actually mentioned twice to be absolutely clear. So you could probably improve this up to a level 4 by using better vocabulary and other words such as supernatural, which, as you can see, are mentioned. And the word mystery is only mentioned once in the level 2 answer. Which means that will be accounted as an attempt to identify the mood or tone and evaluate the effect on the reader, but it wouldn't be a full success, which you get in a level 3 answer. So always try and mention the mood or tone twice to be clear. This would be the level 1 answer about structure. Question 4. Question 4. Focus this part of your answer on the second part of the source from line 24 to the end. A student said, "I wasn't at all surprised by the disappearance of the stranger child at the end of the extract. The writer has left us in no doubt that she's just a part of Rosie's imagination." To what extent do you agree? In your response, you could consider the disappearance of the stranger child, evaluate how the writer presents the stranger child, and support your response with references to the text. 20 marks. So this is the large mark question, and this is the reading question you should start with because of the large number of marks. So you would do this after question 5, the writing, which you would in fact start with. So this is the pass grade answer, level 3, that I'm going to read to you. As we move towards the end of the extract, it seems less and less likely that there is a rational explanation for the sighting of the stranger child, and the writer emphasises this by portraying her as a fairy tale character. The simile, like a homemade Cinderella costume, not only describes the girl's clothes, but also serves as a symbol for the imaginary and possibly supernatural nature of the girl herself, especially as the story of Cinderella contains supernatural elements. The reader therefore isn't surprised to find that the girl is gone at the end of the extract, because in fairy tales characters can magically appear and disappear like this girl does, so it's clear that she was a figment of Rosie's imagination all along. You can see in the video that the point that the person who's answered this question is trying to make is in green. The methods are and quotations are in pink, and the evaluation, which is the really important part of your answer, is in cream. So the answer includes reference to an imaginary and supernatural character, and both those words are used in the answer, and it links to the question about the stranger child being in Rosie's imagination. It also explains why the girl might be gone at the end. It makes clear links between the text and the question. Important adjectives describing like the tone, like in question 2, are mentioned more than once, and there are 2 of them, imaginary and supernatural. So you need to make sure that you explain the link at least twice to be clear, so you're not just graded as having attempted that, but that you actually have done it clearly, okay, because level 3 shows that you understand it clearly. In level 4, the person who's answered the question would be using even more vocabulary, such as unexplained and other words. And in level 2, which is not a pass grade answer, there would be fewer explanatory words like supernatural and imaginary used, which is why they have not passed. And here is a level 1 grade answer for question 4. Stop the video if you'd like to read it. This answer would not be a pass. Lesson objectives are to understand your marks, record your marks and writing targets, to practice spellings where necessary, review the requirements of each question,